Now we are going to talk about the non-local scope. We had discussed about the global scope. We also know about the local scope, but what is non-local scope? Consider that this function here, we have this outer function. It has this function called x equal to hello. So x is the local scope for the outer functions, right? But again, here we are defining the inner functions. Now in the inner functions, we are printing the value of x, and then so this is what, like, this is how we have defined the inner function, and then we are also executing the inner function once you execute the outer function over here. So let's try to run this. When we execute the outer function, because there is no other variable, it will reference this local scope over here, local scope value over here, right? So we can also nest this with the two or more other one or more other functions. Like over here, we have the outer function, x is hello. Then again we are defining the inner function. In this definition, we are again defining the another inner two function, which is printing x, right? And then we are calling inner two. So like if you like here, if this inner one will execute, it will execute inner two, right? And if the outer function will execute it, it will execute inner one, right? So if I run this, we'll get hello, because this is what the function we have defined. But if we assign a value to a variable, it is considered a part of local scope now, right? Potentially mask enclosing scope variable name. So here we have the outer functions. We have said hello, x equal to hello, and then we have the inner function, which we are changing the x value as a Python, right? And then we are executing the inner function, and then we are trying to print the x value. So what we're trying to understand as, like, if x value is here, we are again defining the x value over here. So will this x value will change or not? What we're trying to understand is, because if we'll execute this inner function which we are doing over here, right, this is like reassigning the x variable, but now we are trying to print that x variable. So again, here we can see that the value of x is still hello, because we are executing the inner function, it has not changed. So x has not changed to Python, right? If you want to change that happen, we can achieve this using non-local keyword, which is not local, not even a global, but it is not even a local, it's non-local keyword, right? For example, consider this. Here we have the outer function x is hello. In the inner function, we are saying non-local x. This means that we are referencing to this variable x equal to hello, right? And then when we say x equal to Python, right? And then we try to, so here we are changing the value of x, and then we're trying to print it. We can see that we have changed the value of x now. Earlier we were printing hello, but now with the use of non-local, this means that we are referencing this variable, and then we are changing this variable. So this outer variable has been changed, right? We can also work at any level. Like over here, we can see that we have this x is hello, inner function, inner one, inner two, then we're saying non-local x, then we're saying x is Python. So we can see that because we are saying non-local x, this is, so this will find that do we have any variable in inner one or not. We do not have, so it will reference to this variable, right? And now the value is Python. So the question is, how far Python look up the chain depend on the first occurrence of the variable name in this scope. For that, consider these example. Like over here, again we have the outer function, we have defined the x. We have the inner function, we are again defining the x. Again we have the inner two, we are again defining the x. Here we are changing the value of x, but before that we are saying that now we want to use the non-local x. So this non-local x will look at this x value, like x equal to Python, right? it will, because this x variable is different than this, right? Here this we are not saying that we want, like, this is a non-local variable. We are not saying that. We're just saying that x is Python. So this will be the local variable now. And this is another local variable which is available for outer function. This variable will available for the inner function, right? And now we are referencing this variable over here before changing to it. Now we are changing to Monty. This is like printing before x, before inner execute, inner one execute. Then we are executing inner two here, which is changing the value. And after we execute, let's try to print the inner one. Then again we are executing inner one, and then we are trying to print the original outer x. You can see that before it was Python, but now we are saying that it is a non-local. So now after that, in the inner two function, now it will change. So inner one function will change to the, because when we execute the inner two, we are changing it, right? So after changing, we got Monty, and then in the outer function has not affected, because here this is not referencing to this variable. Once you reference to this variable, this will also change. Consider this variable, this example over here. We have the outer function x is hello, inner one, and then in the inner one we are saying non-local x. This means that this line says that now we are referencing to this variable. And when we say x equal to Python, this means that this variable has changed now with the Python. Then again we are referencing the same this variable over here, which is associated with the outer x variable. And now we are changing to Monty. So if we'll execute inner 2, it will change this variable, outer x variable as well, right? Now let's try to execute. Here earlier it was Python. After inner 2, it is Monty, because inner 2 is changing this non-local variable, which is also changing this inner one, and which is a reference to outer. This will also change, and it will be Monty. So outer variable will also change over here, right? Now consider these example over here. Here we have this x as 100. In the outer function, we are referencing x. So we are saying we are creating x as Python. In the inner function, we are referencing x, this x, outer x. And then we are changing. In the inner 2, we are referencing global x. So this is our global variable, right? So now this variable, which was the value was 100, will change as an hello, right? So now first we are executing outer. When we execute outer, before inner one, it will be Monty. So like it will be Python, like after that it will be Monty, and then outer x will be hello over here. In the print x is not defined, we are getting, okay, we have not executed this. Now we can see that, right? Outer x is Monty here, which because it was associated this. But now when we print x, which is this variable, it is hello now, because we have changed over here, right? Now over here, what we're trying to do over here is, here in the inner Python is looking for, here we can see that in the outer function. So first we have this global variable, then we have defined the outer function, then it is referencing to global x, which is this. Now it is changing the value to Python. Now in the inner function, we are saying non-local x. So here, this x variable, so this x variable is not a local variable now. Now this x is a global variable, right? Because before changing, we are referencing over here. So this x is a global variable now, right? And when it will look for the non-local, this will not execute, like this will not exist. So this non-local variable does not exist, right? So this will give me the error. We can see that here we are getting syntax error, right? So this is how non-local works, right? We have already discussed about global and the locals, right? Yeah, this is it. Thank you.